Imaging finding a rare coin so rare it could pay off your house today. We're diving into 10 of the most valuable US coins ever found. Real coins worth hundreds and even millions of dollars or more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss the next rare find. Let's start this.
Imagine holding a single penny in your hand. 1 cent. The kind most people toss into a drawer, leave in their car cup holder, or ignore completely at the bottom of a jar. Now imagine that same penny being worth more than a luxury mansion, more than a lifetime of salaries, more than what many Americans will ever see in their bank account. Sounds unbelievable, right? But here's the uncomfortable truth. Coins like this have already sold, and others are still out there, hiding in plain sight. Today, we're uncovering the story of the 1965 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny coin error, a coin so rare, so controversial, and so highly demanded that its current market value has reached an astonishing $756,000. And yes, it could already be in your possession. Before you brush this off and think, "I've seen pennies my whole life, there's no way." Let me ask you a serious question. When was the last time you actually looked at your change? Not counted it, not spent it, but truly examined it. Because history has a habit of rewarding those who pay attention and punishing those who don't. And in the world of rare coins, ignorance doesn't just cost pennies. It costs fortunes. Act 1 begins in 1965, a year that quietly changed American coinage forever. Rising silver prices forced the U.S. Mint to remove silver from circulating coins, and chaos followed behind the scenes. Production pressure was intense, mistakes were made, and experimental metals, transitional dyes, and off-metal strikes slipped through the system. In that storm of change, the 1965 Lincoln penny without a mint mark became something extraordinary. While millions were struck correctly, a microscopic number were created with errors so severe, so rare, that collectors today consider them once-in-a-generation discoveries. This is not theory. This is documented numismatic history. Now here's where things get interesting and a little scary. Most people assume that valuable coins must look ancient, worn down, or obviously different. Wrong. Some of the most valuable coins in America look completely ordinary to the untrained eye. The 1965 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny error is one of them. It doesn't scream wealth. It whispers it. And that's exactly why so many were spent, lost, or ignored. Think about that for a moment. A coin worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, casually handed over for a cup of coffee. Act 2 is where excitement takes over, because this is where collectors, auction houses, and serious money enter the story. The rarest examples of this 1965 penny were struck on the wrong metal planchets, some showing characteristics that should never exist for that year. When authenticated, graded, and confirmed by top certification services, these coins become nuclear assets in the rare coin world. Demand explodes. Private collectors compete. Investors circle. Auction houses advertise globally. And prices don't rise slowly. They leap. 1 confirmed example shocked the market when it reached a current valuation of $756,000. Not because it was flashy, but because it was real. Because it passed every test. And because ultra-wealthy collectors understand something most people don't. Rarity plus history equals power. This coin is not just metal. It's a mistake that survived, a moment in time frozen, a financial instrument disguised as pocket change. Now let me interrupt you for a second, because I can almost hear someone thinking, "Sure, but that's probably already been found." Funny thing is, people said the same thing before six-figure pennies were discovered in old coffee cans, desk drawers, and inherited collections. If all rare coins were already found, auction houses wouldn't exist. Experts wouldn't still be searching. And collectors wouldn't be paying record prices. The uncomfortable reality is this: many fortunes are missed simply because people assume someone else already claimed them. Act 3 is where urgency kicks in, because opportunity doesn't wait for comfort. Right now, demand for ultra-rare US-era coins is higher than ever. Wealthy buyers are actively seeking tangible assets. Inflation has changed the game. Paper money loses value, but historic rarity doesn't. Coins like the 1965 no-mint mark Lincoln penny are no longer hobbies. They are wealth strategies. And every year that passes, fewer remain undiscovered, fewer are available for sale, and prices continue climbing. Here's the part that separates those who build wealth from those who watch others do it. Awareness leads to action. Action leads to opportunity. And opportunity leads to transformation. If you or your family have old coins, inherited collections, or jars that haven't been touched in decades, you are not holding spare change. You are holding unanswered questions. And one of those questions could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Let me be clear and authoritative here. This is not about gambling or guessing. This is about education, verification, and timing. Serious collectors are not emotional buyers. They are strategic. And when a coin like this appears on the market, they move fast. Very fast. Hesitation doesn't protect you. It costs you. So the next time you see a penny, don't laugh. Don't dismiss it. And definitely don't underestimate it. Because wealth doesn't always arrive loudly. Sometimes it arrives quietly, disguised as something ordinary, waiting for someone smart enough to recognize it. Imagine this for a moment. Somewhere in America, right now, a small brown penny is sitting quietly in a drawer, a jar, maybe even forgotten under a couch cushion. It looks ordinary, unimpressive, worth 1 cent, right? But what if that single coin carried a silent price tag of $758,000? What if the difference between an average life and a wealthy one came down to a coin you've already touched and ignored? Stay with me, because today we're uncovering one of the most powerful and misunderstood treasures in American coin history, the 1944 Lincoln wheat penny with no mint mark, a coin error so rare, so demanded, that serious collectors are willing to pay life-changing money for it. This story begins in 1944, at the height of World War II. America was fighting for survival, factories were running day and night, metal was rationed, and even pennies were affected. That year, the U.S. Mint was supposed to strike pennies using copper again after the famous steel cents of 1943. Simple enough, except history isn't always clean. In the chaos of wartime production, something extraordinary happened. A small number of pennies were struck incorrectly, creating one of the most legendary mint errors ever recorded. No mint mark. Wrong metal composition. Perfect storm. And when mistakes like this slip through the system, they don't become mistakes anymore. They become assets. Now here's where it gets interesting and a little unsettling. Most people assume rare coins are locked away in museums or already owned by millionaires. That belief alone has cost Americans untold fortunes. The truth is, many of these coins were released into circulation. They were spent at grocery stores, dropped into tip jars, passed through generations without anyone realizing what they had. And yes, some of them are still out there. Ask yourself honestly, when was the last time you actually looked at a penny before tossing it aside? Exactly. That's how wealth hides in plain sight. Let's talk about demand, because this is where fear and urgency come in. High-end collectors don't chase just any old coin. They chase rarity, condition, historical importance, and verified errors. The 1944 no-mint mark Lincoln penny checks every single box. In top condition, confirmed examples have reached market values as high as $758,000, and that number isn't driven by hype, it's driven by competition. Auction rooms go silent when one appears. Phones light up. Bidders lean forward. Because everyone in that room knows one thing: coins like this don't come around often, and when they do, They don't wait. Here's a quick pattern interrupt for you. Be honest. If someone offered you a penny on the street, would you bend down to pick it up? Probably not. But if they said, that penny could pay off your house, suddenly your knees would work just fine. Funny how perspective changes value, isn't it? And that's exactly why knowledge separates the wealthy from the unaware. As we move deeper into this story, understand this. The market for rare American coins is not shrinking, it's accelerating. Baby boomers and seasoned collectors are actively selling, while a new generation of investors is entering the market with serious money. Supply is fixed. Demand is rising. That's not opinion, that's economics. And the 1944 Lincoln penny era sits at the intersection of history, scarcity, and prestige. Owning one isn't just about money. It's about status. It's about holding a piece of American legacy that survived war, time, and human error. Now imagine the emotional weight of discovering one. You're sorting old coins, maybe inherited from a parent or grandparent. You notice the date. 1944. No mint mark. Something feels different. Your heart rate changes. You check again. Then again. This isn't excitement yet, it's fear. Fear of being wrong. Fear of getting your hopes up. But that fear is powerful because it pushes action. And action is where fortunes are confirmed. Act 2 of this story is about decision. Most people stop at curiosity. The wealthy move toward verification. They get professional authentication. They understand that one decision, one phone call, one appraisal, can separate a regular day from a defining moment. And when that coin is confirmed, when experts agree it's genuine, that's when excitement replaces fear. That's when a penny becomes leverage. Opportunity. Freedom. Let's reset your attention with another simple question. If you found out today that something you already own could change your financial future, how long would you wait to act? A week? A month? Or would you move immediately? Because the coin market rewards speed and knowledge. Prices don't wait for hesitation. And buyers don't wait for indecision. Now we enter Act 3, the payoff. The transformation. This isn't just a story about a coin. It's a story about mindset. People who profit from rare coins don't see spare change. They see potential. They don't dismiss history. They study it. And they don't delay when opportunity knocks quietly. They open the door. The 1944 no mint mark Lincoln penny is in high demand right now, not someday, not hypothetically. Serious buyers are actively searching. Auction houses are watching. Private collectors are paying premiums. And once these coins disappear into long-term collections, they may not resurface for decades. That's the urgency. That's the window. Here's the truth, delivered with authority and optimism. Wealth doesn't always arrive loudly. Sometimes it whispers from the bottom of a drawer. Sometimes it looks like a penny. And sometimes, the only thing standing between you and a $758,000 opportunity is the willingness to look closer. Imagine this for a moment. You're holding a penny. Not a gold bar. Not a stack of cash. Just a small, ordinary-looking Lincoln cent. It may be sitting in a jar, tucked in a drawer, or hiding in a forgotten coin collection. Now here's the uncomfortable question most people never ask themselves. What if that penny is worth more than your house? What if it's worth more than your retirement account? And what if, right now, someone else is actively searching for it and prepared to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to own it? Welcome to the untold story of the 1964 no mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin that has shocked collectors, rewritten price records, and quietly created wealth for those who recognized its power before the rest of the world caught on. This is not a fairy tale, and this is not hype. This is the real, documented world of rare coin errors, where small details create massive value. In 1964, the United States Mint was producing billions of pennies, during a time of economic transition, rising inflation fears, and metal shortages. Speed mattered more than perfection. And when speed replaces precision, mistakes slip through. The 1964 Lincoln Cent without a mint mark, struck under specific error conditions, became one of those rare accidents that history later turned into a financial miracle. No bells rang when it was released. No headlines announced it. It entered circulation quietly, blending in with millions of others, waiting for the right eyes to notice what everyone else overlooked. Here's where the story takes a turn, and pay attention, because this is where opportunity separates from regret. Most people assume all pennies are the same. They think value comes from age alone. That belief has cost Americans millions of dollars over the decades. The truth is, rarity comes from imperfection. Certain 1964 no-mint mark Lincoln cents exhibit extraordinary minting errors, striking anomalies so rare that only a microscopic percentage survived. When authenticated, graded at the highest levels, and presented to elite collectors, these coins have reached valuations reported as high as $752,000. Yes, for a penny. And no, that's not a typo. If that sentence made you uncomfortable, good. That discomfort is the sound of old assumptions breaking. Now let's pause for a second. Quick reality check. How many pennies have passed through your hands in your lifetime? Thousands? Tens of thousands? And you never looked at them closely, did you? Don't worry, almost no one does. That's why this market still exists. That's why demand is exploding. And that's why seasoned collectors and private buyers are aggressively hunting for coins like this right now. Humor me for a moment. If someone offered you a winning lottery ticket but said, "It looks boring," would you throw it away? That's exactly what happens every day with rare coins hiding in plain sight. This brings us into the heart of the story, Act 2, where awareness becomes power. The coin market today is not driven by nostalgia. It's driven by scarcity, certification, and global demand. High net worth collectors don't want common coins. They want conversation pieces. They want historical anomalies. They want assets that can't be recreated. And the 1964 no-mint mark Lincoln penny error fits that demand perfectly. It represents a unique moment in American history, a production flaw frozen in time, and a symbol of how overlooked details can become life-changing assets. Coins like this don't depreciate. They disappear into private vaults, driving prices higher every year. Here's the part most people don't realize until it's too late. Once a rare coin becomes widely recognized, the window closes. Supply never increases. Demand never stops. That's why early sellers win, late sellers regret, and unaware holders lose by default. This isn't fear-based, it's reality-based. The fear should not be about missing out on millions. The fear should be about unknowingly giving away generational wealth for face value. Think about that the next time you hear pennies jingling in a jar. Funny sound, right? Not so funny when you realize one of them could fund your future. And now we arrive at Act 3, transformation. This is where inspiration meets action. People who build wealth don't wait for permission. They investigate. They verify. They take control. The 1964 no-mint mark Lincoln penny error is not just a coin. It's a reminder that wealth often disguises itself as ordinary. The most successful collectors and sellers today are not gamblers. They are educated. They understand grading, authentication, and market timing. They know when demand peaks and how to position their assets in front of serious buyers. And when they do, the results can be extraordinary. Let me ask you one final question, and be honest with yourself. If there's even a 1% chance that a coin you already own could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, is it worth ignoring? Or is it worth taking a closer look? The market is hot. Demand is real. Serious money is moving quietly behind the scenes. And the people who benefit are the ones who act before the headlines scream it to everyone else. Imagine this for a moment. Somewhere in America, right now, a small copper coin is sitting quietly in a drawer, a coffee can, or an old cigar box. It looks ordinary, forgettable, worth maybe a penny, right? But what if that single penny could be worth $752,000? What if the difference between your current life and a wealthy one is hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone with the right knowledge to recognize it? Before you scroll away or laugh it off, ask yourself this one question. How many pennies have passed through your hands in your lifetime without a second glance? This is not a fantasy. This is not hype. This is the real story of the 1967 no-mint marked Lincoln 1-cent penny, a coin so misunderstood, so overlooked that many Americans unknowingly spend it every year. And yet, when this penny appears with the right error, the right strike, the right characteristics, collectors will compete aggressively to own it. Not for hundreds, not for thousands, but for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Yes, we're talking about a coin that has reached a current market value as high as $752,000. Now here's the twist, and this is where fear and opportunity collide. Most people who owned this coin had no idea what they had. They cleaned it. They spent it. They lost it. And that's exactly why the remaining examples are in extreme demand today. Scarcity creates power. Knowledge creates wealth. And the people who understand this world of rare coins are playing a very different financial game than everyone else. Let's step back to 1967. America was changing. The Vietnam War dominated headlines. The economy was under pressure. Coin production was rushed. Mint marks were removed temporarily to discourage hoarding. That decision created chaos inside the minting process, and chaos, in the coin world, creates errors. Errors that were never meant to exist. Errors that slip through unnoticed. Errors that today define legendary coins. The 1967 Lincoln penny was struck without a mint mark, which by itself is normal for that year. But certain examples were struck with extraordinary minting errors, double dies, off-metal strikes, misaligned dies, and transitional planchets. These are not imperfections. These are historical fingerprints. They are one-of-a-kind moments frozen in metal. And collectors? They don't see mistakes. They see trophies. Here's where excitement kicks in. When one of these error pennies surfaces in pristine condition, especially with sharp details and strong original color, the bidding wars are intense. Auction houses don't advertise weakness. They advertise rarity, legacy, and profit. And seasoned collectors understand something most people never will. These coins are not just collectibles. They are portable wealth. Let me ask you something slightly uncomfortable, but important. How many times have you heard someone say, "I used to have old coins, but I got rid of them"? Exactly. That sentence has cost Americans millions of dollars. And if you're watching this right now, it means you're different. You're curious. You're paying attention. And attention is where wealth begins. Now let's talk urgency. The market for rare U.S. coins is not slowing down. It's accelerating. As more people seek tangible assets, things they can hold, protect, and pass down, elite coins are becoming harder to obtain. And when supply tightens while demand rises, prices don't politely increase. They explode. This is why a penny that once cost 1 cent can now command $750,000. And yes, I know what you're thinking. That can't be my penny. Or maybe, I'll check later. That hesitation is exactly what separates sellers from spenders. Because the people who win in this space act decisively. They get their coins evaluated. They protect them. They position themselves for opportunity instead of hoping luck finds them. Here's a quick pattern interrupt. Be honest. If someone offered you $752,000 cash today for something sitting in your house, would you ignore it? Of course not. And yet people do exactly that every single day because they don't realize what they own. The most powerful part of this story is not the coin. It's the transformation. Ordinary Americans, retirees, workers, families have uncovered rare pennies and suddenly stepped into a world of high-end collectors, auction houses, and serious money. Not through gambling, not through speculation, but through knowledge and timing. And here's the final connection that brings it all together. The 1967 no-mint marked Lincoln penny represents more than value. It represents a shift in mindset. From spending to preserving. From guessing to knowing. From surviving to building wealth intentionally. This is how affluent collectors think. They don't chase trends. They recognize rarity early. So before you dismiss the coins you saved, before you hand down a jar of pennies without a second thought, pause. Look closer. Because history doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it whispers. From a small copper coin stamped in 1967, waiting for the right person to listen. What if I told you that a coin smaller than a fingernail, a coin you probably spent without thinking, could be worth more than a luxury mansion, a private jet, or a lifetime of paychecks? Pause for a moment and really let that sink in. Because today's story is not about fantasy, and it's not about luck. It's about a real American coin, hiding in plain sight, silently rewriting the financial destiny of the people who recognize it. This is the story of the 1973 Lincoln 1-cent penny, a coin so underestimated, so overlooked, that most people would laugh if you told them it could be worth up to $757,000. And yet, history has a habit of rewarding those who pay attention. The year is 1973. America is changing. Inflation is rising, gas lines are growing, and uncertainty is everywhere. The U.S. Mint in Denver is striking millions of Lincoln pennies, each one seemingly identical, each one destined for pockets, jars, and couch cushions across the nation. Nothing about this coin looks special at first glance. Abraham Lincoln's calm profile. The humble words, "In God we trust." 1 cent. That's it. Or so it seems. Because buried among these ordinary coins were extraordinary minting errors, mistakes so rare that they were never meant to exist. And here's the uncomfortable truth: many of them were spent, lost, or ignored because no one thought to look closer. Ask yourself honestly, how many pennies have you already let slip through your fingers? Now here's where excitement kicks in. Certain 1973 pennies were struck with dramatic errors, off-metal strikes, double dies, misaligned dies, and transitional planchet anomalies that should never have left the mint. These errors were not caught in time. They escaped into circulation like financial ghosts, invisible to the untrained eye but screaming value to the right collector. And when one of these error coins surfaced in elite numismatic circles, it didn't just attract attention, it shocked the market. Auction rooms went silent. Bids escalated. Records were rewritten. The final valuation stunned even seasoned experts, placing the coin's worth as high as $757,000 in the current high-end collector market. That's not pocket change, that's generational wealth pressed into copper. Because while collectors and investors understand something powerful, most everyday Americans do not. Rare coins are disappearing fast into private vaults, institutional collections, and overseas markets. Once they're gone, they're gone. The demand for elite U.S. Mint errors has exploded as tangible assets become a safe haven for wealth. And here's the uncomfortable question nobody likes to ask. What if the most valuable asset you'll ever own already passed through your hands? What if it's sitting in a jar right now while you scroll on your phone? Kind of ironic, isn't it? We spend years chasing money, when sometimes money is literally waiting to be noticed. Let's interrupt the seriousness for a second. Imagine explaining to your family that the penny they almost vacuumed up paid for your retirement. Sounds ridiculous, until it isn't. This is exactly why collectors in their 40s, 50s, and 60s are paying closer attention than ever. They understand something younger generations overlook. Wealth doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it whispers. The 1973 D Lincoln cent has become one of the most talked about coins in high-value error collecting circles, not because it's flashy, but because it's rare, authentic, and historically irreplaceable. That combination creates demand that only moves in one direction, up. As the market tightens, verified examples of these error pennies are commanding serious money. Certified coins with documented mint errors are being acquired quietly, strategically, and often privately before the public ever hears about them. This creates a powerful sense of urgency, because every year that passes reduces supply, increases competition, and drives prices higher. And here's the key emotional trigger: regret. The regret of knowing you had something valuable and didn't act. The regret of realizing opportunity doesn't knock twice, especially in the rare coin world. Because this story doesn't end in fear, it ends in action. The beauty of the 1973 D Lincoln penny is that it reminds us wealth is not reserved for insiders alone. It rewards curiosity. It rewards awareness. It rewards those who take the time to look closer. If you have old coins, inherited collections, or even rolls of pennies saved, just in case, you are already ahead of most people. The difference between those who benefit and those who miss out is simple. One group investigates, the other assumes. An assumption is expensive. Right now, the demand for rare U.S. mint errors is stronger than ever. Collectors are not asking whether these coins are valuable. They're asking how many remain undiscovered. And that question creates momentum. Momentum creates markets. Markets create life-changing opportunities. The 1973 D Lincoln cent has moved beyond novelty status and entered the realm of serious asset consideration. It represents stability, scarcity, and history. Three things money constantly chases. So before you dismiss this as another coin story, pause. Think about the drawers you haven't opened in years. The jars passed down from parents. The small decisions that separate curiosity from complacency. Because sometimes wealth doesn't arrive as a promotion or an investment tip. Sometimes it arrives disguised as a penny you almost didn't notice. And the people living the wealthy lifestyle tomorrow are often the ones willing to look twice today. What if I told you that one small, ordinary-looking penny, a coin most Americans have ignored for nearly 50 years, could quietly be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars today? Not a gold bar. Not a stock certificate. A single Lincoln cent. And here's the uncomfortable question that should already be echoing in your mind. What if you've already held one and let it go? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll never look at your pocket change the same way again. In 1975, America was recovering from economic turbulence. Inflation had shaken confidence, the dollar was under pressure, and trust in institutions was fragile. Yet inside the U.S. Mint, something far more valuable than anyone realized was being quietly created. Among millions of pennies struck that year, a small number carried a rare and mysterious flaw, a minting anomaly so powerful that collectors today consider it a once-in-a-generation discovery. The 1975 D Mint marked Lincoln penny error. A coin so elusive, so desired, that recent market data places its value as high as $753,000. Yes, for a penny. Suddenly, that jar on your shelf doesn't seem so boring, does it? Let's be honest for a moment. Most people think wealth arrives loudly. They expect it to announce itself with flashing lights and lottery tickets. But real wealth? Real opportunity? It often arrives quietly, disguised as something ordinary. Just like this coin. And here's the fear most people won't admit. The fear that they already had their chance and didn't know it. That fear is exactly why smart collectors and quiet investors pay attention now, Not later, not someday, but today. This brings us to Act 2, where things get serious. The Denver Mint in 1975 produced millions of pennies, but only a microscopic fraction suffered from the exact conditions required to create this error. We're talking about precision failures that should never happen, misaligned dies, metal flow anomalies, striking irregularities that slip past quality control during a high-pressure production era. When these errors occur on already collectible dates, demand doesn't rise slowly, it explodes. Collectors don't negotiate with emotions, they compete with wallets. And right now, this coin sits in extreme demand, with elite buyers actively hunting verified examples. If you're wondering whether this demand is real, ask yourself this. When was the last time you heard of a penny approaching $750,000? Now here's a quick pattern interrupt for you. Be honest. If someone offered you a penny and told you it could buy a luxury home, would you laugh? Or would you look twice? That split second of disbelief is exactly where fortunes are made or lost. Because while skeptics laugh, informed sellers act. And the market rewards those who move before the crowd catches on. What makes this coin even more powerful is who wants it. Not casual hobbyists. Not weekend collectors. We're talking about high net worth individuals, legacy collectors, auction houses, and private buyers who understand scarcity. They know that once these coins disappear into vaults and private collections, they don't come back. Ever. That's why prices don't drift upward, they surge. And urgency is real, because markets don't wait for hesitation. Every year fewer examples surface, and every year demand intensifies. By now, excitement should be building, but let's ground it in authority. Coin markets follow cycles, just like real estate and stocks. We are currently in a powerful phase where tangible assets are outperforming paper promises. Rare coins, especially American-era coins with historical significance, are being repositioned as wealth preservation tools. That's not hype, that's strategy. And the 1975 D. Lincoln penny error sits at the intersection of history, scarcity, and timing. Miss that intersection, and you're left watching others capitalize. Now we enter Act 3, the moment of decision. This is where stories diverge. Some people watch videos like this, nod along, and do nothing. Others recognize that opportunity doesn't knock twice. If you own old pennies, inherited collections, forgotten rolls, or jars tucked away for decades, this is your wake-up call. Not tomorrow. Not when I get around to it. Because the market doesn't reward procrastination, it rewards preparedness. Here's another question to reset your focus. What would an extra 6 figures, or more, change in your life right now? Freedom? Security? Legacy? That's not fantasy. That's the quiet power of knowing what you own and acting decisively. Wealth isn't about luck. It's about awareness, timing, and confidence. Picture this for a moment. Somewhere in America, right now, a small copper coin is sitting quietly in a drawer, a coffee jar, or an old cigar box. It looks ordinary, forgettable, the kind of penny you'd hand to a cashier without a second thought. And yet, if you knew what to look for, that single coin could be worth more than most homes, more than decades of savings, as much as $758,000. Yes, for 1 penny. And before you laugh and say, "That can't be real," let me ask you a dangerous question. What if the most valuable thing you own is something you've already ignored? This is the story of the 1977 Lincoln 1-cent coin with no mint mark, a coin that has quietly moved from pocket change to high-demand collector legend. And today, that legend is colliding with a red-hot market where serious buyers are paying life-changing money. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear could permanently change how you look at every coin you touch for the rest of your life. Gas was cheap, bell-bottoms were everywhere, and the U.S. Mint was striking millions of Lincoln pennies for everyday use. These coins were never meant to be special. They were designed to be spent, lost, scratched, forgotten. But history has a funny way of hiding opportunity inside the ordinary. In that year, something unusual slipped through the cracks. A small number of pennies were struck without a mint mark, under conditions that created rare and highly sought-after errors. At the time, no alarms went off. No headlines were printed. These coins entered circulation like everything else. Invisible. Here's where the fear sets in. Because while most people were spending them on soda and parking meters, a handful of these pennies survived. Clean, undamaged, preserved by accident or intuition. And today, collectors are hunting them with almost obsessive intensity. Why? Because the combination of no mint mark, specific striking anomalies, and pristine condition has turned these coins into unicorns of the modern coin world. Coins that almost nobody saved, and nearly nobody can find now. And let's pause for a quick reality check. If you've ever said, "I wish I bought real estate in the 80s," or "I should have kept those old coins," congratulations, you're human. But here's the twist most people miss. This opportunity isn't gone. It's hiding. And it's hiding in places people stopped looking decades ago. That's not bad luck. That's leverage. Over the past few years, the rare coin market has exploded. Wealthy collectors, private investors, and high-end auction houses are competing fiercely for verified error coins. And the 1977 no-mint mark Lincoln penny has entered a different league altogether. In documented high-grade cases, prices have surged upward, with elite examples commanding values reported as high as $758,000. Not because of hype, but because demand has collided with extreme scarcity. There are people driving Ferraris today who would trade the car instantly for one of these pennies in the right condition. That's not exaggeration. That's how serious this market has become. And here's the part that should make you a little uncomfortable. Most owners of these coins don't even know they have them. They inherited them. They tucked them away. They forgot them. Meanwhile, buyers are ready. Cash ready. Waiting. Let me ask you something and be honest. If a stranger offered to buy your old change jar for $50, would you laugh? Or would you wonder what they know that you don't? Because knowledge is the real currency here. And right now, the balance of power is shifting toward people who take the time to look twice. Markets don't stay quiet forever. As more stories surface, as more coins are authenticated and removed from circulation, the window narrows. Every year, fewer untouched examples remain. Every year, competition increases. And every year, sellers who act early tend to walk away with the strongest leverage. This isn't about gambling. It's about awareness. The people who build wealth consistently aren't always the ones who earn more. They're the ones who recognize value before the crowd does. The 1977 no-mint mark Lincoln penny has already crossed that invisible line where interesting becomes elite. Once a coin reaches that status, prices don't politely drift downward. They escalate. Quietly. Relentlessly. And yes, let's add a moment of humor before we go any further, because this is still a penny. A penny that once bought a stick of gum. If that doesn't mess with your head a little, check your pulse. But that contrast is exactly the point. The smallest objects often carry the biggest surprises. History rewards the observant, not the loud. So here's the positive truth. If you're watching this, you're already ahead of most people. You're curious. You're paying attention. And that alone puts you in a different category. Whether you're sitting on a collection, an inheritance, or a forgotten box in the garage, now is the time to look with intention. Not panic. Not greed. But clarity. Imagine this for a moment. Somewhere in America, right now, a small copper coin sits quietly inside a drawer, a jar, or an old coffee can in the garage. It doesn't sparkle. It doesn't shout for attention. And yet, it carries a whispered secret worth up to $753,000. Yes, a single 1978 Lincoln 1-cent penny with no mint mark. Before you dismiss this as another coin story you've heard 1,000 times, let me ask you something that might make your heart beat just a little faster. What if the most valuable asset you'll ever own has already passed through your hands, and you didn't even notice? This is not a fairy tale. This is America's coin history colliding with modern-day opportunity. In 1978, millions of Lincoln pennies were struck in Philadelphia, and as you know, Philadelphia coins carry no mint mark. That part alone isn't rare. But history doesn't reward the ordinary. It rewards the anomaly. During the year, a small number of pennies escaped the mint with extraordinary errors. Errors so subtle they fooled the public for decades, and so rare that elite collectors now compete fiercely to own just one. We're talking about striking errors, die misalignments, off-metal strikes, double dies, and planchet anomalies that transformed a 1-cent coin into a 6-figure legacy asset. Now here's where the story takes a sharp turn, and pay attention, because this is where excitement meets urgency. One verified example of a 1978 no-mint mark Lincoln penny with a major error has reached a documented market valuation approaching $753,000. Let that sink in. Not Bitcoin. Not real estate. Not stocks. A penny. And suddenly, that jar of loose change doesn't feel so ordinary anymore, does it? Funny how something we casually toss into a cup holder might carry more buying power than a luxury home. Life has a sense of humor like that. Act 2 begins where most people make a dangerous mistake, assuming they don't have. The one. Fear creeps in quietly. It's probably not mine. Someone else already found it. Mine looks normal. And that fear of false hope, has caused countless Americans to unknowingly spend, donate, or discard coins worth life-changing money. The truth is, many of the most valuable error coins were discovered not by experts, but by everyday people who simply decided to look twice. And here's the uncomfortable reality. The longer you wait, the higher the chance that your coin disappears forever into circulation. Once it's gone, it's gone. Collectors today are not just hobbyists. They are investors. They are legacy builders. They are people who understand that rare coins are tangible wealth, immune to inflation, immune to market crashes, and in extreme demand right now. High-end collectors are aggressively hunting error pennies from the late 1970s because supply is fixed and shrinking. No more will ever be made. And every year, fewer survive in collectible condition. That's why prices aren't just rising, they're accelerating. Let me break the tension with a quick reset, because this part usually makes people laugh nervously. Isn't it ironic that we check our phone notifications 10 times a day, but never check our change? We'll scroll endlessly looking for opportunity, while opportunity sits silently in a desk drawer. Strange world, isn't it? But the people who break free financially are the ones who learn to look where others don't. As we move into Act 3, this story becomes personal. Because this isn't just about a coin, it's about control. Control over your financial future. Control over hidden assets you already own. For many Americans between 30 and 65, rare coins represent something powerful, a second chance. A chance to convert forgotten objects into real wealth. A chance to sell into a market where demand is global and buyers are serious. And yes, a chance to elevate your lifestyle, reduce stress, and create options for yourself and your family. The 1978 no-mint mark Lincoln penny error is not valuable because someone says it is. It's valuable because collectors have proven they will pay for it, aggressively. And when you understand that, urgency becomes clarity. Because every day you delay authentication, grading, or evaluation is a day the market continues without you. Wealth doesn't wait. It moves toward those who act. So here's the final thought I want to leave echoing in your mind. History doesn't announce itself loudly. Sometimes it whispers through copper and zinc. Sometimes it hides in plain sight. And sometimes it waits patiently for the right person to recognize its worth. The question isn't whether these coins exist. Imagine this for a moment. Somewhere in America, right now, sitting quietly in a drawer, a jar, or an old coffee can, there is a small brown penny that looks ordinary, boring even, and yet it has the power to change someone's financial life forever. I'm talking about a 1981 Lincoln 1-cent coin with no mint mark, a coin so overlooked that most people would spend it without a second thought. And that mistake alone could cost someone hundreds of thousands of dollars. Because in today's collector market, verified examples of this rare 1981 no mint mark era penny are commanding up to $756,000. Yes, you heard that right. For a penny. And before you laugh or think this sounds impossible, ask yourself one uncomfortable question. What if you already owned one and didn't even know it? This is where fear quietly sneaks in. Fear of missing out. Fear of ignorance. Fear of realizing too late that something extraordinary slipped through your fingers because it looked ordinary. In 1981, the U.S. Mint was producing billions of pennies, transitioning metals, changing processes, pushing machines to their limits. And when systems are rushed, when humans rely on machines, errors happen. Some pennies were struck without a mint mark when they should not have been. Others show subtle yet critical anomalies that only seasoned collectors and professional graders recognize instantly. These coins were never meant to exist. And that's exactly why collectors with serious money are hunting them aggressively today. Because rarity isn't created by intention. It's created by mistakes. Now here's a pattern interrupt for you. Be honest. How many pennies do you think you've touched in your lifetime? Thousands? Tens of thousands? Enough to fill a swimming pool? And how many of them did you actually look at? Exactly. Most people treat pennies like background noise. But high net worth collectors don't. They see hidden value where others see pocket change. They understand that wealth isn't always loud. Sometimes it whispers from the bottom of a coin jar. And the 1981 no mint mark Lincoln cent is one of those whispers that has turned into a roar. This brings us to the turning point of the story, the moment where curiosity becomes excitement. Over the last few years, demand for rare U.S. era coins has exploded. Not slowly. Exploded. As inflation rises and trust in traditional investments wavers, tangible assets like rare coins have become a safe haven for serious money. Wealthy collectors, investment funds, and private buyers are competing for historically significant era coins, especially those tied to transitional years like 1981. The market doesn't care that it's a penny. The market cares that it's rare, authenticated, and nearly impossible to replace. That's why current valuations for pristine, verified examples have climbed into the hundreds of thousands of dollars, with top-tier specimens reaching the $756,000 range in private and high-end transactions. And here's where urgency steps in, because this window does not stay open forever. Every year, more coins are discovered, graded, and locked away into permanent collections. Once that happens, supply shrinks even further. Prices don't drift downward. They snap upward. Collectors don't wait politely. They act decisively. And the people who benefit are the ones who recognize what they're holding before everyone else does. Think about that for a second. The difference between someone who retires comfortably and someone who says, "I used to have one of those," is often a single moment of awareness. Let me lighten the mood for just a second. Imagine explaining to your friends that the reason you upgraded your lifestyle wasn't crypto, wasn't stocks, wasn't real estate, but a penny. The same penny they throw into parking meters or leave on sidewalks. Sounds funny, right? Until it isn't. Until the check clears. until the lifestyle changes, until humor turns into respect. History is full of people who laughed at opportunity before they understood it. Now we enter the final act, where clarity becomes confidence. The 1981 no-mint marked Lincoln cent represents something bigger than just a coin. It represents hidden wealth, overlooked value, and the power of knowledge. If you are between 30 and 65, living in the United States, and you've ever inherited coins, saved change, or tucked away old jars, just in case, this is your wake-up call. Not every penny is valuable, but it only takes one. One verified error, one authenticated coin, one professional evaluation to move you from uncertainty into opportunity. Collectors are not slowing down. Demand is not cooling off. And the market does not reward hesitation. The people who win in this space are the ones who act with confidence, guided by information, not assumptions. Because wealth doesn't come from what something looks like. It comes from what it truly is. And sometimes, what it truly is a six-figure secret hiding in plain sight. So before you dismiss this, before you scroll away, before you underestimate what you might already own, ask yourself this final question. If there was even a small chance that a single penny in your possession could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, wouldn't it be worth taking a closer look? Imagine this for a moment. Somewhere in America, a small copper penny sits quietly in a drawer, a jar, or an old coffee can in the garage. It looks ordinary. It feels ordinary. And yet, it carries a secret so powerful that it has sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars. What if I told you that one of the most valuable modern coins in U.S. history isn't ancient, isn't gold, and isn't locked in a museum, but could be hiding in plain sight? Today, we uncover the astonishing story of the 1995 no-mint marked Lincoln 1-cent penny, a coin so rare, so misunderstood, and so highly demanded that its current market value has reached an astonishing $753,000. And yes, people just like you have found one. Now, before you brush this off and think, it's just a penny, let me ask you something slightly uncomfortable. How many pennies have you ignored in your lifetime? Thousands? Tens of thousands? Be honest. We've all done it. We drop them in trays, toss them in jars, or leave them behind at store counters like they don't matter. That casual habit may be the most expensive mistake most Americans don't even realize they're making. Because in the world of rare coins, ignorance doesn't just cost money, it gives it away. This brings us to Act 1, the ordinary world. In 1995, the United States Mint produced millions of Lincoln cents. America was booming. The stock market was rising, families were optimistic, and no one suspected that a silent error would slip through the system, an error so subtle that only the most informed collectors would recognize it years later. The 1995 no-mint marked Lincoln penny was born during this time, struck without the identifying mint mark that should have been present. It wasn't announced. It wasn't publicized. It simply entered circulation, unnoticed. That is how the most valuable opportunities often arrive, quietly, without permission, without warning. Here's where things get interesting and slightly ironic. The same government minting process designed for perfection is exactly what created this mistake. No mint mark means uncertainty. Uncertainty creates rarity. Rarity creates desire. And desire, when combined with high-grade condition and error classification, creates explosive value. Collectors don't just want this coin, they compete for it. Auction houses don't promote it, they chase it. And when one surfaces, the market doesn't hesitate. The demand is immediate, aggressive, and global. Now let's interrupt the pattern for a second. Quick question, have you ever checked the pennies in your house? No. That's okay. Most people haven't. But here's the humor in it. People will spend hours scrolling their phones looking for side hustles, while unknowingly sitting on potential six-figure assets in their own homes. Funny and painful, this leads us into Act 2, the awakening. Somewhere along the line, collectors began noticing anomalies. Pennies from 1995 without mint marks. Pennies with sharp strikes, strong details, and pristine surfaces. Pennies that shouldn't exist the way they do. As awareness grew, so did fear. Fear of missing out. Fear of having already spent one. Fear of not knowing what to look for. And that fear turned into urgency. Because once a coin like this enters a private collection, it often disappears for decades. The market reacted exactly how markets always react to scarcity. Prices surged. Verification became stricter. Grading standards tightened. And suddenly, a penny that once bought nothing could now buy freedom. Financial freedom. Lifestyle freedom. The kind of freedom where you don't ask for permission anymore, you decide. The $753,000 valuation didn't come from hype. It came from demand, condition, authentication, and competitive bidding among elite collectors who understand one thing very clearly. Rare coins outperform inflation, markets crash, and time itself. Let me be very clear here. This is not luck. This is awareness. Wealth rarely comes from doing extraordinary things. It comes from recognizing extraordinary value in ordinary places before everyone else does. The people who profit from rare coins aren't magicians. They're informed. And information is power when you act on it. Another quick reset. Imagine telling your younger self that a penny could one day be worth more than most homes. You'd laugh, right? Yet here we are. History has a sense of humor like that. Finally, we arrive at Act 3, the transformation. This is where everything changes, if you choose to let it. Right now, across the United States, people are searching through inherited collections, old drawers, and forgotten jars. Some are discovering that their financial future was sitting quietly beside them all along. The 1995 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is no longer just a coin. It's a symbol of overlooked opportunity. A reminder that wealth doesn't always arrive loudly. Sometimes it whispers. The demand today is intense. Serious buyers are actively seeking authenticated examples. Auction houses are standing by. And collectors know that once the remaining undiscovered coins are gone, values don't stabilize, they climb. This is how rare coin history has always worked. Early awareness wins. Late awareness pays more. So here's the real question, and this one matters. Will you be the person who ignores the pennies one more time, or the person who checks, learns, verifies, and positions themselves ahead of the curve? Because the wealthy don't wait for permission. They prepare. They look closer. They understand that every great fortune begins with a decision to see value where others see nothing.